Monday morning, everybody. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program. Our show brought to you by our friends at Tanner Health System. It is 8:30 Monday morning. I'm your host, Colin Worthington. Appreciate you tuning in to News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. And this morning, we are on Facebook Live. Questions and comments. Of course, we encourage you to call into the program, 678-601-8255, 678-601-TALK. And it might be easier for you if you are watching this on Facebook Live. If you post a comment up there or a question, and I'll try and monitor this thing a little good this morning, and we'll pass those along to our guest. Our guest this morning, if you don't see him on Facebook Live yet, is Michael Dugan. He is the state senator for District 30, which does cover Carroll County and a portion of Douglas and a portion of Paulding County, right?
That's correct.
So you're a Caleb Hutchinson fan.
Caleb, yeah, from American Idol. He's doing well.
Yeah, yes. Final tonight.
Yeah.
That's it. Down to the final three. So I'm sure we'll watch that. And if you don't see it tonight, I'm sure we'll mention that during our newscast tomorrow morning. But this morning we're going to talk about serious stuff, if we can. Don't have to campaign this year. That's probably got to be a big relief. And it's kind of a compliment, too, I think, if people don't challenge you.
Well, there's a lot of work that goes on. People ask me, well, what are you doing now that you don't have to campaign? I'm thinking, well, the only thing that I'm doing differently really is not putting out yard signs. But the rest of it is still the same. You go and speak with groups. You tell them about what you've done, what your vision is for where we're going, and so that really never changes.
Is it a bad thing that I'm so impressed with this? And I tell you all the time, and I tell people out every time we're at an event, that you are at every single thing in the county. I mean, in Carroll County. I mean, you're probably doing the same in Douglas County, too. Actually, I see it, when you send out press releases, I see it in Paulding County and Douglas County. But you are at every single event. And I don't want to say I was surprised, but I was surprised, actually, to see that. To see any kind of representative or senator do that, because I just haven't seen that in the decade that I've been here. Well,
you and I have talked about it before. I think it's important that you actually participate in stuff that's important to the constituents that you serve. We're also fortunate that, we have a bunch of electeds in this area that are actively engaged all the time. So it's not just me. It's the other ones.
Jay is still fairly new. I've seen him at a lot of things as well. But as long as I've been here, you've done it from day one. So I think it's worth pointing out.
Well, thank you.
Sure, absolutely. The session is over, and we'll go talk about some of the things that were covered in this session, some of the important bills that were passed during this summer and into the fall before the next session. Are you on any committees or work?
They have not been assigned yet. No. They'll wait till the elections are done.
Well, I mean, as far as committees, like maybe some bills were passed that created committees.
Study committees.
Same thing.
That's right.
Okay, I thought I'd seen some that were put out recently.
No, the committees have been released. The people that are on the committees have not been named yet. So there's a couple of them. There's some reduction in regulations, one that I brought forward last time that I assume that I'll be chair of, since I'm the one that introduced it. But until the election process is done, we won't name anybody to committees.
I guess it's kind of, if you're not reelected, probably no reason to put you on there, even though you still are supposed to serve those last 6 months. But you may not be as excited about it. Again, Mike Dugan, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. We are on Facebook Live this morning. If you'd like to check us out and send in comments or questions, I'll try my best to monitor that and pass those questions on to you. Or you can call us 678-601-8255. That is 678-601-TALK. We do have elections tomorrow. Tomorrow's election day, Republican race for governor. Who are you supporting in that race?
I'm behind the lieutenant governor. I support Casey Cagle. They're all great guys. They're all friends of mine. We're in a situation where, especially on the Republican side, they're all good people. So, they are. Even some of them that you'll see some crazy ads that come out. They're still good people. But when it comes down to it, I'm looking at it like a job interview, and who do I feel personally is the most capable of stepping in that job and continue to move Georgia forward, and that's, in my mind, is Casey Cagle.
Cagle seems like he's more comfortable in it. I mean, just watching Kemp's commercials even over the last couple of months, it seems like he's kind of anxious and maybe worried about it. But Casey seems like, whether you agree with his politics or decisions he's made, he seems like he's been the most comfortable. Like, he feels like he's in control of this.
Well, he's been doing it for a little bit, so he's comfortable. But Brian has been there for a good while as well. Hunter and I shared an office for 2 years. As a matter of fact, before we came in the same time. We were in the same unit in the Army together. So, it's I think the world of them. But again, I'm hiring. It's not a popularity contest. In my mind, it's who is the best person for that job.
I do want to come back and ask some things about the previous session, and just to fill this first segment and get some questions asked. When I read social media posts on campaign websites, to see a lot of pretty hateful things said. You just wonder if these people actually know these candidates, or you personally know them, or the people that seem to be supporting them. You personally, and again, I don't recall seeing anything on social media that it targeted you or said anything hateful to you or real mean to you. But when you see those kind of things, and if they do target you, do you automatically decide you're not going to respond? Do you automatically decide that you will respond, or do you feel like do you want to check out that person maybe who's posting these comments? I mean, look up their situation, what they make available, and see if they're just the kind of person that says those kind of things all the time, or maybe they're just a troubled person.
I don't spend that much time on social media. We'll do postings every once in a while, but they're more informative than anything else. That's like Delta, our Aspen Dental has got a thing coming up for veterans in June. So we'll post stuff like that to make people aware. I don't engage with people back and forth on social media. If they have a question or concern, they can call me, or I can meet them, but not a whole lot of positive comes with the give and take on social media.
And I just, in the last couple of weeks, I just remember seeing some things. I mean, honestly, around election time, I do get a stomach ache just with all the, our listeners, our viewers. They do contact us, and they're like, well, hey, you're not giving this guy enough coverage, or I can tell that you like this candidate more than the other one. I'm just like, yeah, well. And then I see what they say to these candidates. It's it can be fun to read that. I mean, anybody to read those kind of things.
Well, you want people to be passionate with the process.
Mm-hmm. They always just come across as uneducated to me. The comments that they do spout out there, because the angry ones anyway. They don't seem like they gave it some good thought. They're just mad about one particular thing. But that's just my opinion, and it's the only time I get to do that during the week is when we do this community voice program.
Well, I'm glad I had you on today.
Yeah, we'll take our first break here on this morning's community voice program, and come back and talk about the session. A couple of important bills that were passed this session. It was, as expected, this was a session that was kind of rushed through because the campaigns were going on, so there may not have been as many things brought up as normal, but there were a couple of bills that will have long-ranging effects, and we'll talk about that, get your opinion on them, and find out how you voted for those. We'll do that after this first break. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, and this morning on Facebook Live.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama, because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org. or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
It is now 8:40. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, and this morning on Facebook Live. I'm your host, Colin Worthington. Again, 20 minutes before 9 o'clock, our guest is District 30 State Senator Mike Dugan. He is pretty much guaranteed another 2 years in that seat as he was unchallenged. Tomorrow's Election Day. His name will be on the ballot, but no challengers on there. How many votes do you think he'll get?
I hope all of them.
Yeah. I hope there's some cool write-ins. We like to see Snoopy and Captain Crunch in there every now and then.
Well, since I've tried to emulate your look today going on your radio show, I said, who can I look like today? And I said, I'm gonna go as Colin Worthington.
Colin's hosting the show this morning, so let me give that a shot. I probably should give you a heads up that our makeup girl was off today, so she couldn't take care of us and powder us up right nice. But let's talk about the session this year. The 2018 session wrapped up. The only thing that you guys have to do every year is pass a budget, pass a balanced budget. But of course, there's a lot of bills that we like to talk about all year, controversial bills, and among those was that distracted driving bill. Did you support that?
I did.
Back and forth. I mean, obviously, I think the intent is public safety, to cut down on the number of wrecks that are caused by distracted driving. But some people are, I'd say, libertarian mindset are just like, hey, I mean, gotta let us take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I understand their point of view. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand where it's coming from. But that same mindset is, why can't we drive 120 miles an hour down the road? Why do we even bother having speed limits? It's not a free-for-all out there. And you have a requirement to follow state laws to maintain your privilege of driving. Because as you know, driving's not a right. It's a privilege by each state under their own rules. Now, the second part of that you didn't say was, well, there was already, you can't text and drive. But it was almost unenforceable, because I can see you on the phone.
And you probably have.
And, well, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. I can see you on the phone, and you can say, I wasn't texting, I was making a phone call. Or
and it's okay.
I was checking my emails, which wasn't against. All it said specifically was texting. And even if I pulled you over and was 99% sure that you were texting, I can't check your phone to see if you were texting. So basically the bottom line is, while you're driving a vehicle, drive the vehicle. If, if you want to receive a call, you can still push the button and put it on speaker and receive the call. You can still use it as a GPS. You can't text. You can't crazy. You can't watch a video while you're driving. I mean, who can argue with that you ought to be able to watch a video while you're driving 70 miles an hour down the interstate?
As far back as maybe last year, I'd read about maybe 3 or 4 states that legislators had to approve this to happen. They had to approve for police to use this new type of machine or new device that would be able to check if you were using the web from their car. They're able to monitor that, but that has to be approved by legislators. And I think a couple of states might have done that. Is that
that's a little further than I'm comfortable going.
There were questions about privacy.
Yeah, that's not it. If you got this thing up in your hand and you're working the device, or if you have it cradled in your shoulder, you can't do that. I mean, that's not that big of an ask for somebody. And so you come down to with some of the older cars don't have Bluetooth in it. My phone, and I have it here, was shown on has this little
a flip phone. Oh, no.
Has a little thing on the back, and it has a little cradle that sits on my dash that slides in there. So that altogether was $7. And
so it'll just turn to a speaker. It won't come through your car, but it's just a speaker through the car. So, okay, I've seen those on a couple, but I think Luke Lukert has one with the Georgia Bulldog on it, and I wondered what that was. I thought he was just showing off his fandom.
No, well, they do that too. But you can pull it out. So, because I use mine as my alarm clock too.
Well, that takes effect July 1st, and local police said, hey, I mean, we're gonna enforce it. I mean, we're gonna be looking for it. They expect a lot of people to be affected by it, even within the first month. The penalty sounds kind of minor starting out, but it could develop into something bigger if you do it multiple times.
Well, you shouldn't do it multiple times.
Do it one time.
And if you if you get pulled over one time for doing it, you can go in and say, these are the steps I've done to make my car compatible, and that putting that little bracket on there is one of your fine goes away. But I mean, if you're one of these that gets pulled over 4 or 5 times, then you're obviously
cause an accident too.
Yeah, it's the intent is to encourage positive behavior, and I know that can laws do that. Yeah, we're going to try to have it do that, but there's got to be a stick too, because we're losing too many lives out there on our roads right now. with distracted driver being an ever-increasing number of the reasons for the fatalities.
We had another school shooting on Friday, this one in Texas, and I don't like that this always becomes a political issue, and I'm not even sure it has to be. I just think it does become just because they want it to be a political issue. And discussions about something to be done. I mean, it feels like somebody's going to have to do something to make a certain group of people feel better. But of course, that's going to offend other people. Would you ever be in favor of something and it seems simple to me? So I guess the storage laws, safe storage laws, to where you just have to. I mean, that's just part of the law. I mean, if it's found out that you did not store your gun properly, I mean, there would be some sort of penalty.
That's a hypothetical that you're throwing at me right now. I would have to see.
So that's never been discussed at all?
No. My going in would be no. What I would like to take a longer look at, one of the commonalities that I've seen with school shootings, in addition to the weapons, everybody always talks about the weapon. It's the mental health of the shooter. It's not a single size issue. There's multiple things that go along with it. Like we were talking earlier, it was assault rifle. This one last week, no assault rifle. It was a handgun and a shotgun. So, it's not one thing. When we were looking back a little further, let's just ban assault rifles. That's obviously not going to do away with the problem that we're facing. You go back to the time period where the Brady Bill was in effect, where you had you had a regulation on the size of the magazine. You had regulations on the sale of certain types of weapons. The numbers of shootings didn't go down. If you remember, Columbine, which kind of started all this off, was right in the middle of all that. So,
but the number of shootings, I mean, it's hard to compare even now. It just seems like, in the last 12 months, and don't want to, I'm not trying to throw Donald Trump into this, but the numbers are just keep increasing. I mean, we're hearing more about it.
The two things you just said right there. You are hearing more about it. If you go back and actually
look, they're more serious, though. I mean, they're not. They don't compare. I mean, there were shootings in that decade, in the first decade of 2000, but they weren't these mass shootings, I guess. That were.
Tell you what, go back and look at the numbers in actuality, and the numbers you'll find that you had a greater probability of being actually killed in a school shooting during that period than you do now.
You do now, huh?
But you hear about it more, and I'm not.
I know.
I'm not. I'm not saying it's not that this is not terrible, but I'm saying that it's more than one thing. And everybody always wants to say, if we just do this one thing, it'll all be fixed. And that's not the case. You in the back of your mind, if you look at it, you know that it's not going to be just one thing. It's a whole bunch of things wrapped into one. And if you just spitballing at a wall, you're not going to accomplish anything.
We talk about education a lot. These situations come up. Do you see a time where parents could face some sort of prosecution or punishment if their children, say under 18 years old, are using their parents' guns? I mean, again, it goes back to the safe storage. But again, that's supposed to be part of education. But can you force them to get that education by saying, hey, if your kid takes your gun, knows where it is, you didn't explain it to them properly, how to use it, when not to use it? Can they face some sort of a punishment?
I don't know how you would enforce that. It would be so. Let's say that your 17-year-old son took a knife and stabbed somebody to death. Are now you being tried because you didn't lock all the knives up? Where does it stop once you start going down that line? And I don't know what the answer to that would be.
Mike Dugan is the senator for the District 30th District in the state of Georgia. That covers all of Carrollton, a portion of Douglas, and a portion of Paulding County. And he's running unopposed this year on the ballots on Tuesday. He's our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. It is 10 minutes until 9 o'clock on this Monday. We'll take our final break and come back and maybe talk about some things that we can expect to see in 2019. Is that fair? Is it
Sure.
early to talk about that? Well, we'll start the conversation off with that after we come back from this break. Community Voice brought to you by our friends at Tanner Health System here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program. Our show brought to you by Tanner Health System. I'm your host this morning, Colin Worthington. Our guest is District 30 State Senator Michael Dugan. You can hear us on AM 1330, FM 106.3, and this morning on Facebook Live. Welcome your questions and comments, but we do only have about 9 minutes left in the program. A lot of discussion about Amazon looking for headquarters number 2, and Atlanta's in that mix. Locally, I think we get excited about 50,000 jobs potential for that, but then there's another side of people that don't want state of Georgia to cater to do things that they may seem as policies that they don't agree with. Things that could encourage Amazon to come out here. The governor has said if you move into I don't know if the next level is 5 or 3, but could actually bring session back in, right, to discuss some things. Is there anything new with that you might know about that we don't know yet?
No, I don't know anything that y'all don't know. I read probably all the same stuff and look at all the same things that you look at. I'm gonna answer your question, but I'm gonna talk about 2 more things first before we run out of time here today. Fully funded QBE, first time ever.
Right, absolutely, that's huge.
We've had that as a goal since I've been there. But the way the budget has worked, we haven't fortunately been able to do that. Now, this year we were able to. Education is still about 54% of the budget, but we were able to fully fund QBE. At the same time, we're giving an income tax break. So state's doing well. That's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that people knew that your income tax in the state of Georgia is going to start going down.
And they both seem like good things, and I'll just be devil's advocate and go after both of those for you. As far as that, filling up the QBE, how confident should boards of education be in investing that money for the future? Because if they were to invest it in certain things, and then it's taken away again. If they produce new jobs or things that they can't pay for the next year because maybe the money's not in the budget. Are you confident that money can stay in the budget?
I'm confident that we've hit it. And now that we know we can hit it, that it's more likely that we'll hit it for every year. But the budget, it's if you hit another great recession like we did a decade ago, then things will have to be reevaluated at that point. But for the foreseeable future, the way that I see the Georgia economy going, we should anticipate fully funded QBE. For a while.
Are there stipulations on that? Can they put that towards projects or teachers' salary or anything, or it doesn't matter? It's just part of their budget.
No, it's funding based off the kids in the classrooms. So you in
theory, you'd put it towards the teachers, right? To submit
you would like to regulate class sizes a little bit more. The smaller teacher to student ratio, even more than the how it's broken down by age groups now. So for years and years, schools have said that we have not had the ability to do things that we wanted to do because the funding formula had not been fully funded. And my understanding, and you can look at statistics however you want. The deal with statistics. This is the first time it's ever been fully funded since it's been initiated.
Well, it's relatively. That's relatively
80s.
new. Okay. Well, a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah, so it's been going for a while now, but it's a good start, and that That was a really glass half empty response on that thing.
I gotta go back and
good
forth,
news is we fully funded the QBE. Yeah, but we're doomed. It's never going.
Well, you got to be sure.
We started. It's a start
Had you
point.
not heard that from Board of Education members? That there was concern that
there's always concern.
And I mean, but they're doing it for political reasons too. I mean, they're want to tell the people like, hey, we'd like to bring back the teachers, but if we do that, and they don't give us some money next year,
that's true. That's true.
When can we start to see benefits from the tax decrease
Next
for
year.
the state of Georgia? Next year being in January, or okay, not like July 1st. I mean, it'll. I'm picturing it differently, but as far as your income taxes, when you file your income taxes, it'll come back better. Will that depend, being able to drop it even lower in 2020? Will that depend on the amount of federal money?
No,
because that's kind of like what's behind this for the state, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's revenues coming into the state based off outgo. We have to have a balanced budget. So once we've started looking down, everybody always says the budgets are tight. Budgets should be tight. I mean, it's your money that we're funding everything with, and if the budget's not tight, then we need to be returning money back to the people that are investing into their government, which is all of us, all the taxpayers. So we got to a point where the rainy day fund is back up to where we wanted it to be. There's a reserve account that we have.
Is that like 10, 15%?
It's what?
And in theory, it's to pay government workers if it shuts down.
10%.
Right? Okay.
It's not. That's a planning thing, but we're there, and so once we're able to fund the different areas like education where we wanted to fund them, we said, okay, now we need to start investing back in our people by returning some of their income to them.
It'll be exciting. Was there an example like like a median income? How much of a benefit they could see, or a family?
It's an overall number that I saw, and off the top of my head, I can't remember. It's like 5.8 billion or something like that. That's coming back into people within the state.
Well, good. We've got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
And this is where I would have saved. Hey, is there anything you want to talk about? And you just said QBE, but now we've got 2 minutes. You have something else.
Okay, we'll talk about Amazon then. Okay. We don't know anything that we hadn't heard before. We're in the 20. I understand that with everybody out there that's weighting these things, Atlanta is looking very promising. I think that there are 3 of the 20 towns are within 100 miles of each other, in Northern Virginia, outside D.C., and Southern Maryland. If I was guessing, I would say because there's 3 that are that close, that they would have to be the front runner in the HQ2. I would like to have them here if the situation is right. We're not going to give away the house.
Well, I was going to say, was there something that's been discussed that you would be like, no, definitely not? Something that was suggested by another legislator or maybe by the governor that you said, no, I don't see us doing that?
No, and they've kept the negotiations pretty close to vest because it is an ongoing negotiation. Now, as well as I do with the Georgia Open Records, after it's done, after the deal is done, whether we get it or not, all those are open records, so you can see what the proposal was.
Very cool. Mike Dugan, thanks for coming out this morning.
Well, thank you for having me again.
Appreciate you wearing the jacket. That's always nice.
That's because it's always like 30 degrees in here. Now I can go home and shave.
Graddick's not watching this morning, so he's missing all your comments pointed at him. But hey, again, thanks for coming out this morning, and thank you for watching us on Facebook Live this morning. Listen to us on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. I'd love to tell you who's on the show tomorrow, but I have no idea. I think Lori will be here though. I think we can count on that. And thanks to Joel, thanks to Michael for flipping the switches this morning. And again, thank you for watching Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.